Hey everyone, welcome to the Bible Belt Bros podcast. Andrew's sick today, so just so everybody knows this, I have more than one friend, and so I have a work bro here today. Dave, say hi to the podcast.
Hey everybody, what's up?
Dave and I, we work together at a marketing company. We do a lot of nerdy SEO stuff, and then also fun video stuff, and then other things that are sometimes fun, sometimes not. But we deal with a lot of different industries, I guess, a lot of different markets, and handle everything from video to the website into the SEO side of things. So, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey, my name's Dave. I graduated from ORU a long time ago, and I've been lucky enough to work with Dusty for the last, oh my gosh, has it been 5 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Something
like
like
five,
that.
3, I don't know, 5 seems right. Too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime. But yeah, I had a minor in marketing, so I guess that works out for how I got into this line of work. Self-taught web developer, and just been busting out WordPress websites for the last 5 years here in Tulsa, and doing a little bit of everything in between, including some fun side quests with Dusty that we've tried.
Yeah, we love a good side quest.
Yeah.
Little side projects, what do they call that?
Side hustle.
Side hustle.
Oh,
yeah.
I hate that word now.
We're side hustle guru. We don't sell a course on it.
Yeah.
And so you can be as successful as we are with our side hustles.
We just don't have as much money, so we can't take as many
Yeah,
risks
exactly.
with our side hustles. Yeah.
Exactly. So today I want to talk about balancing, as Christians, we're making money for other people. We're also charging money for those services. And then typically you deal with as a Christian, you get kind of thrown into this, you're profiting off of me. And there's just a balance between handling your relationships as a Christian, your relationships as a business owner, and how we're handling just receiving and helping people out. So let's just start off. Let's tell kind of a silly story. What is a client that we have had that either is the craziest client or maybe the craziest situation that we've been in, or both? What comes to your mind?
There's so many. I think cannabis is the first one that comes to mind, which I wasn't here for this one. I've only heard stories secondhand, but I do know that one person that we worked with developed an addiction just because of what happened.
Oh no!
Where there was a company we were doing marketing for, so they brought in samples to the office for everyone. No, it was for a photo shoot, I believe.
Yeah.
Product photo shoot.
Yeah, so there's a dispensary. We're putting products online because I think you can actually order online kind of thing because the laws changed.
They had that Grubhub for cannabis, basically.
Yeah, so they had brought products to take good product shots to post online and not these cell phone stupid pictures, and actually have something professionally done. Okay, continue.
Yeah, no. Yeah, or was it the other one with the cake? I don't know. There was a few different ones that I've heard stories about that were just before I started.
I'll tell the
working in
cake
the
story.
office.
Let's
you
tell
know the cake story?
Yeah, let's tell the dispensary story.
Yeah, so I guess after the photos are done, it was here you go, guys, free samples, and I believe most of the people that we worked with partook. And
okay, you're actually telling the cake story.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the photo thing was this. Maybe the cakes is the story.
Both things required photos, but I just wanted to point it out there. I didn't partake in just regular buns.
You seem defensive about the cake. What's the story there?
Okay, well, I'll tell the cake story, and then you can tell. Okay, geez, these are off the rails already. It's 4 minutes in.
Classic.
All right, so same concept. There was somebody that was cooking with cannabis oil was the client.
Oh, it was oil. Okay.
Yeah, it was the cannabis oil, RSO, I think is what it was called. Not really sure, but and so she was doing healthy ways to incorporate it into a normal meal and not just be smoking all the time. That was her spiel. And so she brought in carrot cake. She brought in a bunch of different food, but she brought in carrot cake. And we took pictures of it and stuff. She's like, "Oh, you guys can have it." And let me just tell you, it tasted exactly like carrot cake, and never knowing how cannabis like affects you or whatever. It's like noon.
Just like a normal cake.
Yeah, it's just noon. So we all like take nice, good sized pieces of this normal. We're splitting it between like 4 or 5 people.
Man slices.
Yeah. Wives aren't watching. We can have extra cake,
that's
you know?
right.
So we all took this extra cake, and it hits you different with the cannabis oil than it does, like, I guess, smoking it.
Oh, okay.
And so, or like gummies, I think is how it's been told to me is like, you take a gummy and it really makes you more tired, more relaxed.
Yeah.
And not in this like weird high state of mind, if that makes sense at all. So we all partook of this cannabis cake, and by 2:00, we're all like basically asleep at our desks. Like the production for that day just died. Just tanked. It was so
awesome.
funny. And they brought in more food then, but they were like, nothing was it was cake. You can't resist cake no matter what's in it. Nobody ever asks. I think that's a running joke, right? Like, maybe not a running joke, maybe just a joke to me. But, like we had this big, huge spiel about like the COVID vaccine and like putting it. I'm not putting what I don't know in my body, blah, 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 blah. But if it's in cake form.
Oh, yeah. If there's sugar and icing. Yeah.
Yeah. If you give me a COVID vaccine in a cake form that I can eat.
COVID donuts, baby.
I'm having it all day long. But yeah, do you remember the dispensary story?
I think it was the cake story, but I do have a backup story, which is my favorite thing. With the craziness of our jobs is that you usually end up doing something you're completely unqualified for at some point or another. And at one point, someone came in for a video shoot, and someone just hit record on the camera and had to leave. There's no video people, and I was just told to come in here and direct this guy for his video shoot. God. So I had to scrape the website for some content to ask him questions about. I come in and I like, talk about this. And he talks about something completely different. Okay, next question. Talk about this. Just goes off the rails completely to the next thing. And it was 30 minutes of just like, can you hear me? Like, it was just nonstop. It was so bizarre because I tried to get him back on track. But yeah, that was one of the funnier things because you're just like, that's not at all what I asked you. Like, just what's going on?
Do you know what your company? Have you looked at your website?
Because I took this from your website, and you're not talking about that thing. Yeah,
that's always great. Like people approve things to push it. Like a website design, they'll approve the design to push things faster down the funnel, get it going, and then when you finally build it, and then they're like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I never approved that. No.
No, you didn't look at it, approved it so that we keep working on your project.
Yeah, the blind approvals. Those are always fun. Oh.
Yeah. So, Dave, you've done side hustles. You've had basically a business owner. You do a lot of 1099 projects, and so you have to quote yourself and you have to value yourself. How do we do that, but also in a Christian mindset, because you want to help people, right? And you want to be able to, we're not here to store up treasures on earth.
Right.
But yet I need to be paid what I'm worth.
Yeah.
So how do we balance that?
Got to get by. I think the times we've talked about it, usually the conversation focuses around value. And then, you have to know what the market rate is for the services that you charge. Starting out is always the toughest thing because starting out almost feels like it's easier to just do it for free and then get a couple reps under your belt. But if you've already gotten past that point and you're struggling with pricing, I think one of my favorite stories is how Gary Vee got his first speaking engagement. If you ever heard him talk about that, he just threw out the number that he thought it was. They asked him to speak at his first conference after that first book, Crush It, had come out, and he's like, I think he said like $5,000, and the person didn't even blink. And they were like, sure. And he was like, oh wait, did I say five? I meant I'm sorry. It's how long? Oh, it's 10,000 for that. Still didn't blink. And then he got off the phone and realized like he probably could have said a much larger number. Mm-hmm. That philosophy of like knowing what your time is worth, that's always, I think it's a tricky dance, but at the same time, raising, like, we know from what we do over and over every day, and you probably do too as a business owner or whatever your side hustle is, like what your time is worth and how much of a headache a project is going to be. I think once you get kind of your feet under you, that like that philosophy of like charging more until people start saying no. Because if you're in a position where people are saying yes or people are reaching out to you, charging more, especially if you know what a project is going to entail, that helps you kind of find where you're at on the value scale of things. And then when people say no, you can kind of dig in and find out why they said no.
Right. And you're maybe not explaining the value, and maybe that was a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've seen the opposite quite frequently of discounts handed out like candy.
Yeah.
And how you can discount yourself into the ground, right?
And the client is not grateful.
No.
Never. It's usually worse. I think that's where I've struggled with. Like, I started a t-shirt printing company, or it really was an all-in printing company, and then it morphed into the t-shirt stuff and the custom jerseys that took off. But in that process, I would find myself doing the same thing. Like, what about this much money? You know, like,
right.
Like feeling bad for making a profit.
Yeah,
basically.
That's tough.
And half the time, the person didn't even know I was giving them the discount. They're like, cool, that's great, whatever.
And then if you think you're making a profit, you might get to the end of the project and not break even.
I'm making a profit if it's a perfect scenario. If I don't mess up anything.
Right.
And I do a perfect job. You end up having that kind of situation where I'm discounting myself for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they're profiting more now because my discount's more. So like, it was always a hard pivot to making like, this is my price. And I like you, but if it doesn't work out, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm still pretty low compared to where you go. So if you want your random friend over there that does it out of his garage to do it, that's perfectly fine for me. You know, I can't keep competing with those garage guys.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to compete with those guys forever. And we've seen the other thing where on contracts that aren't charged enough, where people grow out of those the business grows out of those contracts essentially, and the price doesn't increase, and so they go to a bigger agency or a bigger market just because of the perceived value. And I think that there's a link to the pricing there too with that. And that's really, really tricky to navigate.
And then what ends up happening for me in my situation is then there starts to be this rift that kind of exists that you didn't know, like nobody knows that it exists, where I'm upset kind of with that person because I'm discounting them so much, and they don't know that I'm discounted it. So then if they come back and they're wanting another discount, you're like, well, I already gave you one, but you don't know that I gave you one. And you know what I mean? So then you just kind of get this weird riff, or you discount your service that you did. Yeah. Like you take some shortcuts to make it that.
That's the worst. Yeah.
To make it that price, and then nobody's happy. Right. And that person would have been like, well, if it was $10 more, I would have paid it. Like, yeah. Like, you tell me what the problem, so.
There's certain things you might be doing where you're building experience, and I get it if you've never done something before because there's a trade-off. But like when you have a price, if someone balks at a price, they're also buying your experience that comes with that, not just the service that you're providing. So I think all that comes into play with that stuff. And you got to remind yourself of like, well, I've been doing this for a little while here. Like, I know the ins and outs, and what they're getting is my experience when I'm working on this project.
Right. And I think to like go back and kind of answer the first question that I asked, like in being a good Christian and not, doing the right thing as a business owner and a Christian and having those values, it's not necessarily discounting the price. Right. The price tag isn't the problem. It's the value that you're giving them. So to make sure that you say what you say you're going to do, you do what you say you're going to do, that there's, that you do the best job possible, and maybe even, what do they say, that like go above and beyond, I guess, even what their expectations are. Yeah. And
I think you can pre-map some of that stuff. Like part of those problems that come up is like, because you might not be having some of those discussions in the beginning before the project even starts, and then you get into it. And so you can kind of learn from experience when you inevitably run into those things and start putting those into the pre-project, the pre-sale, the sales process, where you lay everything out from A to Z and you have all those bases covered.
That's kind of what I did today. I took a sales call today. And
Oh,
and I
yeah.
kind of was having that same mind, like, man, it was for somebody wanting us to make courses for a thing, and it was course creation. And, I was just like, I just want to be straight up with you. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
10 to 14K is kind of what you're going to expect. And he
Yeah.
was like, you think I can afford that? And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, 20K. No, I'm joking. No, but I explained, like, even saying 2,000 a month until we get there, because
Right.
that's how we operate. We don't want to just build you something and give it to you, and then you don't know what to do with it. We
Right.
want to kind of grow with you through the whole process. So it was like 2,000 a month for a year gives us that timeline to do all these things right.
Yeah.
And so that does, if he does a year, that ends up being 24K project.
Yeah.
It was just like, kind of like, should I discount it more? But it's probably honestly underpriced. But you never know until you get into those situations. Like, we don't have the map for somebody, especially course creation. Like, we talk to some people, they have no idea what they want to talk about.
Right.
So they want to start a course because they're the expert. But then they ask us what to teach the course
Right.
about.
What
So
is
then
the
we have to
course?
go research and become an expert in real estate, for instance.
Right.
And I have to, like, learn how to do all these real estate stuff just so I can tell them what to say on the mic.
Yeah.
And then they have no audience to promote it to.
Right.
So this guy's not that situation, but I don't have a cost per cost map. So
Yeah.
I'm best guessing. So if I've overpriced it, then I need to over deliver on some things.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't need to be like, well, I got him for 24K.
Yeah.
No, I need to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and
Yeah.
and providing more value so that he feels that he got 24K worth of value
Yeah.
by the end of the year. So,
Yeah, it's about partnership. You're entering into an agreement. You could say covenant.
this is not this kind of
Oh,
strict
okay. Well,
podcast.
wrong podcast.
We've gotten
Wrong
quite a lot of bad reviews on Apple based on, like, super conservative Christians.
Oh, I'm
so-
sorry. I thought this was Father Mike's
No, God.
podcast. Wrong show. No, yeah, you're entering into a partnership with someone. That's how we used to talk about that a lot. I mean, in the early days, right? Of like, it's like bringing on the extra band member, the extra person to your team when we do this project, and like, you're taking ownership, because any project, any business thing, like, there's people on both sides are putting stuff on the line. You're putting your name on the line. They're putting their money on the line for the project. And so...
And that's true even as just an employee.
Yeah.
The same values, the same things that you're doing as an employee still apply. Like, when we talk to a client,
Yeah.
it's not our boss's name. It's not the business's name. It's really our name. Everything every interaction we have with that person follows regardless of their relationship with the company.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not preaching the gospel to them or whatever, but if they vet you out at all, they're going to notice your values lie and things that you share on the social medias.
Yeah.
They're going to see it, and they're going to have that, how you interact with them, that's going to be their vision of God.
Yep.
When it comes to,
It's a lot of
and
pressure.
sadly, I was going like, sadly, my experience with a lot, not all, but quite a bit of, because I used to do a lot of t-shirts for churches.
Yeah.
And so my experience with quite a bit of church people was get the most out of you, and then tell you they burn you out.
Oh, my wife used to wait tables. Anybody who's waited tables will tell you.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon crowd after church. Worst tips, worst customers. Just treat people
They always
horrible.
come in like 10 minutes before you close, and they know.
I've had that happen too when I waited tables. Yeah, I think that's the counterpoint I wanted to bring up to what you're saying, was just that there's the flip side of over responsibility, which I think is, oh man, so easy to fall into too, where you're taking on so much responsibility, and it's hard to navigate sometimes of like shutting that off.
Right.
Where you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much hinges on the success of this project, and or this particular website or whatever you're working on.
They're always like, it needs to be done immediately, and they
yeah.
it gets super aggressive, and you're like, calm down. But then you go back to like, I discounted you because you were my church guy,
Yeah.
So then there's like that friction exists for no reason, know.
Well, I think that in marketing, isn't that like our daily life is like, someone has an idea and all of a sudden it needs to be done yesterday. The minute the idea formulates in their brain, it's like, this should have been done already.
Yeah, why isn't this done? Obviously, you're going to flip and only do that now, right? You're not going to worry about any other clients who you also have this. They also have the same feeling,
Right.
And so now you're hit with 5 different immediatelys.
Yeah. Oh, our favorite word. Yeah.
But before I can get started on that, let me jump on this meeting real quick with this other client. Oh, crap. There's homework on this meeting now.
And I'm going to forget half the things I was just told that I really needed to do yesterday.
I saw a LinkedIn post yesterday talking about work from home. It was actually somebody in Tulsa, and it was talking about how, like, they, the argument of, oh, you don't get as much work done when you work from home. And so they were like, oh, yeah, because I love going to the office, having two meetings, so 2 hours of my days in meetings.
Yes.
Then I got random people that come in, want to chit-chat about the weekend or about the week or what's coming up or anything like that. And then, then you got your lunch break, and then we come back. I got one more meeting. Somebody's always, in an office scenario, somebody is always, like, needing a break, and they come in and
no one's ever on the same wavelength, right?
Right. And so you get through all that. Well, now it's time to go home. I accomplished 2 things on my list.
Right.
Maybe. But then somebody else, I was also that curveball thrown at you from somebody just had a meeting and they need me to, they said that I would do this.
At 2:30 this afternoon, yeah.
And then when you work from home, yeah, I might, I'll be honest, I might work till noon or 1 o'clock. But it's going to be a super focused, everything that I needed to get done according to my list is done. Yeah. People are less likely to interrupt you during the day and have you jump on their project because they can't see you.
So true.
When somebody can see you out of the corner of their eye, they're like, oh, hey, you can do this for me right now.
Yeah.
I pay you, so you just do it, Yeah. And you're also going to do that other thing later tonight, right? Because you didn't have time to do it. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not going to happen.
And so that just kind of something.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, man. Yeah. Yeah. We deal with that so much. I think that's the frustrating thing because you can make the argument about the work from home thing or working at the office about the distractions. And like, I can get stuck personally. I can get hung up on inefficiency really easily to the point where, me, I'll like put my headphones in, or I will go find a separate office or whatever, and I will be non-responsive.
And so the way to get work done in the office is to then seclude yourself in the office, to be by yourself.
Oh, wait a minute. Can I do this at home?
Oh, wait a minute. I have an office at home where I'm alone by myself. I could have done this by noon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's.
I used to always have a friend, Ryan, who used to work with us, and he'd always come into my office every day at 4 o'clock because he's done. He's mentally checked out.
Yep.
And I'm like, I've been procrastinating, and now I'm trying to get this final thing done. And I just had to be like, Ryan, we are not on the same wavelength.
Yep, exactly.
Every day I get so frustrated with you because I'm trying to get done, and then it's either going to make me late getting home.
Yeah.
And then, could cause friction with the wife because she knows I'm late because I procrastinated in the middle of the day. Like it's not like I'm hiding that.
Right.
But so we'd always like okay, well, I might as well start leaving at 4 then, Ryan. If you're already done and you're just going to come in here, so I started leaving at 4. Like I'm already done.
That is the nice thing about our current position is that we can make some of those rules for ourselves, like in our current setup. It's hard, and I know not everybody can do that. Optimize for your, where you're at your peak energy in a given day. Like
this became a why we should work from home podcast, but
yeah,
just to throw it on there, most of my conversations I have with you or Scott or William or Toby have nothing to do with work.
Yeah.
And because we're all in separate departments.
So true.
And so it's like, why? What? We're brought here. Oh, and then we got to play ping pong. Obviously,
have to.
That's a rule. It literally is a rule. And I'll go into the dispensary story now.
Okay.
We're bringing up ping pong. So we had this dispensary do the same thing. But need us to take pictures of their products for their website. And so they brought stuff in, smelled up the entire office, and we're in like a big co-working office.
That's what it was.
And we had this hairdresser lady like call the cops, or she called the landlord on us, saying that we were all smoking weed but these guys that had brought it, they were smoking weed. They work at this dispensary, and we played them in ping pong. And they were so like hyper focused, like that weed like got them to focus on that. Like they destroyed us in ping pong. They were the only people that like we'd always like challenge people when they came into the office. And so that day we ended up hiring a ping pong coach to come in the office.
That's how that happened.
Yeah,
okay.
It's because we got beat from some guys at the dispensary.
Nice.
But we did not partake in those products when they were done. Those guys took those products back.
Okay, there you go. I was not here for that, man.
Yeah, we were just playing ping pong while Toby was taking pictures.
That's awesome.
And then the landlord was called on us. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could add to this conversation, I feel like, is that I think there's those moments where you'll know, like, if something, you'll get like a check where like you need to do something more than what you did. Like, you know, you'll always feel like internally you'll have that feeling. You're like, oh, I know what I need to do. Like, you'll get some guidance in those situations instead of like keeping that pressure on to like always deliver, you know.
And that's like
over deliver, I should say.
The temptation, like you're saying, is the opposite, where, oh wow, that only took me 10 minutes and I charged them $2,000 for it. So let me just keep moving on. Instead of going, well, what else can I do? Yeah. You know, that kind of situation. I think that's the balance of being a Christian owner. Isn't necessarily discounting your offer and your prices and discounting who you are and your value. But it's more of making sure that you're doing your best to provide the value and that your word and what you're promising is being delivered. Yeah, because at the highest level.
Yeah, it's so easy to just get sidetracked with money in general and just focus on the numbers and be like, all right, I did that in 10 minutes, so how could I take the 5 hours that I was supposed to work on this project and make another $1,000 with those 5 hours?
Now, if you want to help somebody for free, do it, you know, but I think some of that margin that you get is when you provide the services at the cost that you should be providing them to begin with. And then just be able to do stuff for free for people from time to time and not have to just always be discounted. Yeah. You know, and then you can never get out of that. You really can't.
No, you can't. And you got to slow down. I feel like as soon as you start just chasing the numbers without knowing what the amount of effort and labor it takes to get those numbers, then you've immediately started a race to the bottom on quality and your personal values, you know?
So if you're already at the race to the bottom, here's one way that I got out of it was I started on my invoices, keeping the price that I told them, but then adding that it had been discounted on the invoices.
Right.
So they start seeing that they are getting a discount. I'm not raising the prices on them now. Or anything like that. Once that contract or that commitment is over, that you guarantee that price, just now you have that flexibility to continue that discount. Now they know that they've been seeing that discount on the invoices. They know it exists, but not just like come out like I gotta charge my value. Don't be that guy and start just raising all your prices. But like, especially on your loyal customers, like let that start sinking in that it is at a discount rate, what your normal rate is. And then build your value back up that way without, and that won't destroy your relationships because they'll see like, okay, I'm getting a discount now. It might actually make it better.
Yeah, exactly. That reminds me when I was running some e-commerce stuff like that, you know, if you watch any YouTubers who are creators or selling stuff, like I did the same thing. Every order, there will be some freebies in there. And so at first it's just like random when you think about it. And then eventually, once you know that, like you're saying with invoices, you just make a system for it. And so you take some of those stressful elements out of like having to figure it out on the spot. You just know ahead of time, you set your standards and then you go with that. And that takes, you don't have to think about it.
Thanks, Dave, for being here.
Yeah, I mean, sub in.
Technically, we're getting paid for this episode because we're actually on the clock in the office. But so I don't know what else. You don't have anything to plug, so
smalltowntravelguide.com.
Yeah, one of Dave's side hustles, smalltowntravelguide.com. If you're looking to travel,
taking a road trip anywhere this spring, the summer, check it out. We got all kinds of guides for different small towns and different ideas for things you can do when you're traveling. If you're traveling, you know, on the road, lots of fun ideas there. So check it out.
If you live in a small town, maybe take some pictures for them, and you can.
If you want to promote your small town or your business in your small town, hit me up. Visit the website, fill out a form or whatever, and we'll connect.
Yeah, they'll write a story about your town and put it on their nice little blog site. It's a nice little fun side hustle thing, but it grows day by day.
Yeah. Yep. It's starting to pick up a little bit. Not quite as popular as your bird channel.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast. I'll see. But making some money, live streaming some birds on YouTube. So yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you next week. And this is where Andrew would say, take it easy.
Take it easy.